Hey, welcome back to Ultra Life Today. Please take a moment and text a friend or call a friend and let them know. Adam Payne, the CEO of Ultra Botanica, and me, Josh Bellew, Chief Product Evangelist with Ultra Botanica, are having a great discourse with Mary Jane Fry. She's a pharmacist. And she also does unique personal consulting. And we shared in the last segment how she has moved from the world of straight pharmacy and to compounding pharmacy into this interesting world of helping individuals diagnose their health through unique tests. And by the way, if you want to try to reach out to Mary Jane and get a hold of her, because she can do these tests through the mail, and you can reach her at medicokc.com. That's for Medic Pharmacy, medicokc.com. And then you can also reach out by phone to Medic Pharmacy to Mary Jane Fry at 405-755-3921. And Adam, you want to set up this interesting next segment, because we got to do this in another interview with her, and
we did.
It's exciting.
It was a little over a year ago,
right?
And I hope you're comfortable sandwiched between Josh and myself here, because here we are in the studio, and we got two big guys here, and
menacing and ominous as we are, right?
Yeah, you're so scary.
Teddy bears.
A lot of people, I think, are a little bit scared by anything that has to do with genetics testing. And Mary Jane, I would say you're not just a pharmacist; you're a PharmD also, right?
You're right. The PharmD is a clinical pharmacist,
right? But you're like an Uber PharmD, right? Because you actually, I rarely see somebody get so much. Well, that's not true. All the PharmDs I know, really, you guys are wonderful.
Yeah,
I think
innovators.
I like it. You're thinking about people's health in a way that doctors don't think about it. Doctors are typically disease, symptom, treatment. You guys are filling a role that we need in our community, which is wisdom, understanding, and then life-changing.
Practicality.
Right? And interventions there. And also, the bioidentical hormones and all that stuff. Why? You have a test that you use. It's called 3x4 Genetics. Right?
Correct. Yes.
And who makes that? What's the company? It's
The company is called 3x4 Genetics.
Okay.
The CEO, founder of the company's name is Yael, Yael Joffe, Joffe.
Sounds Israeli.
South African.
South African. Oh, who
so
knew?
The company came from South Africa, and it was nutrition based at first, but now they've come to the U.S. and they're promoting it to any health professional that wants to help patients.
Let's help people understand. Should people be concerned about getting genetically tested? Will companies sell their data? Will it get to insurance companies? Will any of this information leak out to anybody?
I know personally that 3x4 Genetics will not sell any data. There are some different companies doing the family not genetics, but the ancestry type things. And they've gone into the genetics and they are selling some of the data. But 3x4 is not in that realm at all. They will not sell data.
So if somebody does get tested with you, they don't have to worry about their other medical providers, the insurance company, getting access to that information.
Absolutely
That's good. That's good to know. So and I've actually done the 3x4 genetics. So tell me, why have you adopted this tool? Why is it exciting to you? And what benefit does it give to you as a clinical pharmacist?
So when genetics started coming out I can't say reasonable price, but when it became affordable to do some testing, originally there were like 4 or 5 different tests that they started doing. They would do a methylation test, one SNP of the methylation. They did a memory, ApoE, 3E4s or the ApoEs, and they were picking just specific ones.
So these were going in and looking, do you have this particular coding for one particular gene, not doing a sequencing of your whole genome?
Exactly. So when the Genome Project finished and the price started coming down.
So I was actually doing genetic research back in 2005, 2006, 2007, and the cost cost for us to sequence a full human genome was about $80,000 to $90,000 at the time.
Right.
And it
Drop in the bucket for all the average people out there.
Yeah.
For one person, right? And the data was like gigabytes of data, right? And it was you could get the data and it's like, okay, well, there's your genome. But you couldn't do anything with it because there was just, okay, well, that's the sequence. We had no wisdom about what that sequence was actually meaning in the human body. But the data and the science has changed.
Right. The technology is so much better now. So this company focuses on pathways.
Oh, so tell us about that. What does that really mean?
So what that means is that they look specifically at, they call the first ones the cellular pathways, inflammation, detoxification. Those are words people know.
Right.
Oxidative stress is kind of a weird term, but it's basically different processes in the body that prevent resting from the inside out is the way they describe it.
I like
That's
that.
their description of it. And then methylation is the fourth cellular process. And methylation has to do with DNA signaling and also with the utilization of vitamins to work through, and the end product is part of detoxification also.
Yeah.
Right. So these are all the complex kind of components. So when I've looked at the 3x4 genetics testing, they break it out into different organ systems and different metabolic systems.
Right.
And so you can actually, it's testing the essential architecture of those different processes in our bodies. So for example, I have the worst possible genomics in terms of B vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And that correlates with methylation, right, Adam?
That's not even methylation.
Okay.
I mean, I have all of the recessive genes just on the B vitamins, plus I'm also I don't methylate. Mm-hmm. And I have all the negative genes on methylation. So not only do I not produce B vitamins in a good way, because all of the negative genes essentially means that my body struggles to produce healthy amounts of B vitamins or to maintain those healthy amounts.
Well, and these are, they call them singular nucleopeptides, SNPs.
The SNPs. So help us understand.
The SNPs can be turned on or off. So it's the expression of that SNP that's going to occur. So if somebody has stressors or if somebody's gets an infection,
that will turn it on or off.
That can turn it on or off. So what we do is all impact. We don't say that somebody has a disease or is going to get a disease, but what they do in terms of what they eat and what their exposures are in terms of chemicals or their exercise.
That can determine the outcome.
All of those turn the SNPs on or off.
So I liken it like a car engine here because I started with this car engine kind of metaphor. Imagine, so the SNPs essentially say, well, this is a double valve cylinder here in this particular engine, and in this other person they got a quadruple valve, and so a double valve is going to struggle in like getting the oxygen and the fuel into that particular cylinder, and the quadruple valve has a much easier time. So if you have the recessive gene, that engine has to work harder to get the right balance in there because you have that particular machinery in your genome. And so this is really, it's a picture of the machinery essentially, and that can help us to understand how to supplement, right? So for somebody that is an engine with only two valves, you want to make sure that the injectors are clean and that you have clean fuel and all that stuff in order to have an efficient engine.
So Adam, how did you overcome with all these methylation factors and negative genes that you're talking about as it relates to B vitamins, the production of them, and even the absorption of them,
and recycling of them, and the methylation of them.
So how does a person how does a person conquer that? What do you do in daily life?
If I was completely oblivious about this, I would be in a wheelchair right now. Honestly, I really would. It was your help and the help of Dr. Charlie Gant, who also did some genomic testing with me. It really showed me that I had this this B vitamin issue going on, and not only B vitamins, but also the methylation of B vitamins. So I could put B vitamins in my body, but if they weren't methylated B vitamins, I can't do anything with them. That's kind of like, you know, it's the wrong kind of fuel for my machinery. So just making that simple addition. So once I learned about this, putting in a high dose of methylated B vitamins into my diet in the morning and sometimes in the afternoon, I now function. And you know me, Josh. You've seen me when I don't function.
Yep.
I'm a lump in a
I've seen you dragging on the floor.
Right. And it's my life is now very different. I've had degenerative nerve disease, and I think it's pretty much it's in arrest right now because I still have the damage, but I'm not progressing as much as I was before because of addressing this supplementation issue. And you know what? All of the doctor's offices, all of their tests, they tested for B vitamins. My B vitamin levels, my B12 levels were okay, but because I don't methylate the B vitamins, it
weren't getting the benefit.
I had no benefit from it. It took this kind of testing. It's looking under the hood, ladies and gentlemen. It's getting a picture of the machinery so that somebody like Mary Jane Fry can actually help provide prescriptive ideas to your health.
It's going to the root cause of something rather than
know the cause. We know another guy.
Rather than putting a Band-Aid on. But so for people out there buying B vitamins, I just want to give a real quick practical tip. Methylcobalamin is the actual name of, for instance, one of the B vitamins that is now methylated, and it's in a lot of products that way. But there's a lot of products that don't give you methyl B, and it's very inexpensive now. Methyl B used to be really expensive. It's come way down in price. So just looking at that label, look for methylcobalamin rather than just cobalamin, and then you're covering that methyl base.
Well, you might not need it if you're not.
What I was going to say.
Right, if you're a good methylator, which most people are okay.
Well, 40% aren't.
Oh, really? It's that much?
Yeah, and if you're not going to take the test with Mary Jane Fry, you may want to go ahead and get the methylcobalamin.
Know, though, because you
how would they know?
Well, if somebody had a B12 shot and it never did anything for them.
Oh, then they're not a methylator.
And they were getting cyanocobalamin and they weren't methylating it properly. Or if you take multivitamins and think, oh, this really doesn't do much for me, then the going to the methyl products, starting with a multivitamin that has a good range of methyl Bs is a great place to start, because we have a product in the store that people take and go, wow, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
So
lovely.
It does. I mean, and you can get nutrition through your food to some degree, but unfortunately our food sources are getting depleted of their nutrients.
They're weak at environmental exposures and everything.
That's a whole hour discussion, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. But we still recommend eating good foods and making sure your gut's healthy. But the genetics, they call it the upstream place.
What does that mean?
So you're starting and you're finding out what's going on in the body. And then from there, you can look at tests to see whether you're actually exhibiting or expressing problems with those SNPs. So,
interesting.
For example, with the methylation, when patients have methylation, then we check blood work, homocysteine, to see whether they're methylating or not.
So high homocysteine levels would be an indication of poor methylation.
Exactly. So that's one place.
So many things to look at. And you don't need to navigate it yourself. You can get with Mary Jane Fry at her clinic. Josh, what's the number for her?
Yes, they can get on the website, Medic, MEDIC, That's medicokc.com. And then they can call and ask for Mary Jane or leave a message for her, and she'll return that call promptly. 405-755-3921. That's 405-755-3921. And you're listening to Ultra Life Today. I'm here with Mary Jane Fry, PharmD, does interesting diagnostic testing, and Adam Payne, the CEO of Ultra Botanica, and we are the makers of the curcumin that you can feel, UltraCur.
UltraCur.
Yes.
We'll be right back.